The final poem of September the 22 of 2022 was posted on Friday the 30th of that month. It's called it's number 3737 that I posted to the Anachronisms blog, by the way, and it's called The Last Sonnet for this particular September. It is an overly long poem, so in the Ted Berrigan sense, or in the I'm gonna it's like if I call it a poem, it's a poem. If I call it a sonnet, it's a sonnet, right? This year is the future, a past that, as I'm listening to the baloney of the week that ends with this day and that ends this month, which, despite the death of all of the innocent people, is more than a bit hilariously political. Do we remember our dear hardcore pillow hawker? Well, he can't move money from one of his accounts to another of his accounts because the FBI took his cell phone while he was driving through a Hardee's. Worse still, on it's October of 2023 now. He's still in the news. Anyway, gosh, there's so much more to discuss, and you'd all be ROFL, ROFL. I could almost guarantee it. You might actually know this because you know this. So my question is that if an American guy has been given an honorary knighthood, should I call him sir? I can imagine maybe one adult person in the universe for whom it might be a disservice to humanity to literally suggest any hello or what the hell to this particular mammal by starting with the assertion of sir. Sir Rudy? Yuck. How am I trying to end this? Clearly not yet. This apocalyptic month, one in which I have been so broke I found it impossible to concentrate on the one act, the only real action item for which I should be giving all of the job of getting a job, the job of getting a job, which, oh my beautiful dears, if I were to write about this one vast segment of my life that has taken up so much of the last decade, wherein I've only held ones that were contractual, a thing I blame on the economy for niching me into these circa 2013, and which I've now been doing double duty to avoid, only applying for jobs that are permanent, or at least temp to perm, which historically for me meant I was only to work a couple or 3 days, by which time I'd be hired just so that I could attend the firm's full San Francisco office's summer retreat to Yosemite, let's say. What a treat to be outed in the introductory note that went out to the rest of the staff. I'd barely mentioned the partner with whom I'd reluctantly moved here from Boston so that he could go to graduate school. Now he's in Austin, and I very rarely hear from him, same as I almost never hear from anyone else from that time, or any time during my over 22 years in San Francisco thus far. I'm complaining again. It's not that I have not tried so creatively to remedy that. In general, I've given up on that. But anyway, what a waste, I tend to think, before giving into the ephemerality, if not, as I recently mentioned, the illusory nature of so-called friendship. I stay on subject, sometimes interminably. But what if things literally are about to change? And dramatically, it certainly feels as if it might be the case. It wasn't. Well, it wasn't. But wow, did the dominoes have to fall just so? This constant falling and flailing just for the movement in any direction? I've stood stubbornly immobile for far too long now. But because I did try, I failed and I failed and I failed, and nobody handles failure well, do they? A failed friend is no friend at all. Who teaches this? A friend in need is a friend in what? All the bullshit goes out the window of a car I drove for 3 years with no air conditioner or heater. These were the years I lived in the snow belt. It was an Audi, a name that perks an ear or two. And what am I back to by mentioning this? Class? I attended so many of them because, known as an aficionado of information, a curious enough human to do whatever it might take to get to the why and the how come of things. That the thought that even growing up inches above the poorest of the poor in tiny white town Arkansas instilled within me, what, a curiosity? The desperate need to rise above? The good sense not to compete just for a good grade, but to leave what I thought at the time was a godforsaken town instilled with enough knowledge that I might beat the odds and rise a caste above. And I did I not? And so what? What was the big deal? Besides being okay enough to the eyes of others for them to begin to believe that I belonged in this new area of existence. era of existence. It could be just enough so that I could believe it myself. It was a lot of work, just that aspect of this trek, this goal, which, truth be told, was almost every aspect of me, and yet me. I could shrug it off as if it were nothing, when in fact, what was it? I can't be too sure now. Didn't know until I then suddenly didn't have it. Just like that, it was gone. Although it's not as if I haven't kept this outward gaze about me that I must hope shows me as something akin to what I was, but am not, what I wasn't, but wanted to be, but what I'd now call, sure, even now, I'd call it a sort of necessary illusion, and yet I'm not fooling many anymore, and why the hell should I? Buck the system, I say. When I'd be with someone out and about, with whom I was partnered, or how I got a kick out of presenting as a stereotype that I then knocked down, just to show them, to not judge a book by its cover. How silly it all was. And how funny it always was to me to have people think one thing about me and only to realize, and unfortunately all too often never realize, my bad, how wrong that imaginary cover of who I was, who we were, of who I am, was not me. Not me at all. Think again, think hard. It was a way to get attention, but what was that attention for, I'd wonder? Sort of because I did want to be known. Anyway, did I just want attention? No. As it turned out, I got a huge kick out of shocking people who thought things were only one way. To see their look, the way their bodies contorted, to hear the faster than normal questions coming at me. If we were that close, and now I remember how tenuous that closeness was, and why that was why, of course. Our expectations are so easy based on such little information. Isn't that something? The world, its people, sure, many are simple as they come. But even that simplicity has no easiness to it. It's complicated. I'm complicated. What am I saying here? Please, I beseech you, if you disagree with me, be vocal about it. Ask me what I mean. I wish. I truly wish. And there's that ephemerality. There are these endless illusory dioramas. Spin a full 360. Do you think you get it? And if you don't, do you want to? I do. I really do. No matter what I learn, it's my everything. Well, my almost everything. My true all has more to do with when I do get something, or believe I get it, have studied him and his ways for what seems like forever. I'll get it mostly right, and when I do, thanks for listening to me.